What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, reviewing today Final Fantasy XV Episode Ardyn. Now, I'm sure that most of you know this already, but unfortunately, this is going to be the last piece of DLC ever released for this game. Originally, they had the idea of doing several more of these episodes, each one focusing on a different character and giving us a chance to really dive into their backstory and see what they're doing on their own individual adventures. But unfortunately, all the rest have been cancelled. All we have now is Episode Ardyn, so this really is the lasting conclusion that we're going to get. But is it any good? Well, it's kind of weird. I actually was not very satisfied with this. It seems like at the end of everything, it left more questions than answers. So obviously, Ardyn is the main bad guy of this universe, but something that's always been really interesting about him is that Ardyn himself considers, well, his own little purpose to be rather grand. He thinks of himself as the savior of this world instead of its complete conqueror. He thinks that spreading darkness is something that will actually help the universe, and that his revenge is actually righteous. And now, actually filling his shoes and being the person here, I guess more than anything, I'm a little bit confused because this guy kind of went evil just so easily. Seeing him as a young man and almost like a religious figure is very, very peculiar, but what's really kind of odd about it is that it just looks like such a different character. Seeing him as this almost childlike person who has this ability to help the land and cleanse people and take the darkness of the cursed blight into himself, it seems so interesting but so different. And then suddenly it looks like there's this big power grab. His brother and him are both trying to compete for the throne. Who will the gods choose to end up choosing to rule the land of Insomnia? And his brother ends up being selected. So Ardyn is imprisoned since Ardyn thinks that he is the true king. You'd think that this would just basically let him eventually starve to death, but no. Somehow it seems as if Ardyn was able to just sit in a dark room filled with big fish hooks for 2,000 years, and when he pops out, man is he angry. So that's when he decides to start helping the enemy armies create their Magitech soldiers and unleash the demon hordes to each try and basically take over the entire freaking countryside. And I think that all of this is interesting, but I guess my biggest issue with all this is that you can tell that they had to rush this. There is actual times where they just show you computer panels full of lore. This is so story heavy, it seems like they're just trying to unload all this stuff since they're never going to get a chance to do all the other DLC. I wish that we had a chance to really explore these concepts more, or see more of Ardyn going evil. I mean, he starts out so good, even when he wakes up, he actually just forgives all the past crimes against him, until one day he's like, actually, screw it. I'm gonna become the ultimate evil. And it's just so sudden, it seems very poorly written, and that's unfortunate. I will say though that the gameplay itself in this DLC is interesting. Getting to explore this city that previously we only saw in cutscenes is great. I actually think it's cool to see such a giant, vibrant town in this universe, and being able to be somebody so strong that you can just teleport from building to building and fight off entire armies by yourself is really, really cool. I do want to say, if you're actually playing this DLC and looking for a final challenge, it's not hard. I don't know why they did this, but Ardyn is practically a god. They actually say this several times over. So basically, you have a health meter and you have all your magic, and you could just throw some really heavy-duty freaking slashes and bashes, but even if you do manage to get hit, when your health goes down to 0, you end up awakening the darkness inside you, which is sort of like a super ultimate mode where you do 10 times the damage and can erupt people even easier. So it basically makes it where if you're bad at the combat, it seems like things get even simpler. I don't want to show any of the ending fight of this because it's not necessarily a spoiler, but I do think that it's a nice reward. I think that it does provide a cool little conclusion and a different viewpoint of the grand struggle of the city. Really, my main problem with this DLC is the fact that it feels like it should have been more. I feel like if you're going to do the biggest DLC ever, and this is supposed to be like the final conclusion of the entire game, give us some great fan service. Have us where we get to see Ardyn actually apologize to Luna Freya. I mean, show show us the extra stuff that would have been really cool. Show us that in his heart, Ardyn still wishes he could be good, but he can't. Okay, so we've heard some good and some bad, but let's head to the ratings board and put a big number on it. I am giving Final Fantasy 15 episode Ardyn a 7 out of 10. In the next few weeks, keep your eyes open. I'm going to be doing a giant final video on Final Fantasy 15 and sort of just outlining all my thoughts after having played it since before launch until now, and sort of just saying what I think of the game after all the patches, all the updates, and all that it's managed to become. And I think it's going to be a project you'll want to see. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.